All right, folks, we are going to continue working on the Spelljammer Eberron Asteroid Belt campaign that we are going to be running from my home table. So give me a second here to check my signal, see if we're up and running, and then we'll get to work here for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. So mic check, 1, 2, 3. How are we sounding over here? Mic check, 1, 2, 3. How are we sounding on? It's pretty good. All right, cool. So I'm going to hit some channels here on the internet. And while I do that, I'm going to revel you with my origin story. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and publish them online. And I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I've been basically producing content for that game system since the release of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, which came out in 2017. It was the first setting that Wizards of the Coast had created using Magic the Gathering lore as the frame of a setting in the Magic the Gathering universe. But I was disappointed to not find any references to color magic in the book setting because Dungeons & Dragons uses the 8 schools of magic and spell slots instead of color and mana pools. So it was going to happen. I guess it was up to me. So I created them. You can actually check out all those books and preview down in the link down below under Color Mana Spell Point Variant Rules. But that got me into making content for 5e. So we've been building this supplement, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, for the past year. And it's going to publish in about a week or so here in February 2024. So you can check that thing out when it actually does publish. Since I build things that the reason I build things is because I want to run them use them in campaigns. So we are in the process. A big shout out to the Spelljammer Reddit community for just being awesome and having such great questions and having such brilliant ideas all the time. Big fan. And you can follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney if you're interested. Best way to help the channel right now, honestly, is like, subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notifications of when I'm live in the future. The entire list for building the Spelljammer supplement and this playtest or home campaign that accompanies it is in this full playlist here, including the creation of this book cover, which was back in episode 15, so you can check that out. I'll be sharing this Spelljammer Asteroid Mining Toolkit document that we have here in Google Docs. It's not ready to share quite yet, but I'll have it up in my Discord and my Patreon, which you can see in links down in the description down below as well. So I've got 6 people that are playing in the game now. It used to only be 4, it used to be 3. It was 6, then it dropped to 5, then 3, and then we finished the campaign at 20th level, and now we're starting completely over from scratch with a completely different meta, different characters, different concept for the campaign, and they wanted Spelljammer, so be it. I love Spelljammer. Let's make it happen. I'm a big eberron enthusiast as well, so the theme here is, as I've talked about the last few episodes, if you want to check in the playbacks, that it's basically a bunch of asteroids that are in orbit around the planet. You are a guild of spelljamming dwarves, gnomes, and warforged that are building fame and fortune by harvesting ore from these asteroids to be smelted into raw materials for building stuff and for currency and all that other sort of thing. So the team has command of a mining operation where there's pirates, monsters, and poachers about. That adventurers will bounce between starship combat, dungeon delving into asteroids, heist missions invading other territories and other nations' embassies in the neutral zone where all these mining corporations and rivals are operating, as well as heist missions and social style adventure, social encounters or challenges in the form of negotiating, either like the rescue of hostages, gaining new territories, bartering a new contract for your refineries. There's a number of different things that can be done. But the way that it's built is using the task guild system that I had been developing prior to the Spelljammer book being created, where you gain it's like a 4X style civilization StarCraft sort of system where the characters there's a number of tasks. The players can have their characters perform any of those tasks individually as a dungeon, as you would expect, but there's multiple things happening at the same time. So whatever the team doesn't do personally themselves, they can relegate that task to NPCs inside of their organization to basically make an ability check that will either succeed and achieve the goals that they had set, or has a complication, kind of like what you would expect to see in Cypher System, or like Powered by the Apocalypse, or Blades in the Dark, where you don't so much fail as things just get messier and messier and messier as you push forward. So it's that fail forward system that defaults to you having to then invest your time to deal with that problem specifically, because the NPCs that you had relegated the task to were incapable of getting the job done. If they do succeed, then they advance whatever it is. Like we've scouted this new area, and here's how much wealth we think there's going to be. That might not be a very exciting task for a player, but as a single die roll between sessions, for me to be able to suss out how much resources are coming into their territory from these asteroids, that's something that I as a DM geek out on, because I can build different type of adventure plot hooks off of that. But the players don't have to mess with it at all. If it's something they don't want to engage with, it's just simply a die roll to let the NPCs deal with it as a downtime activity skill check or ability check, effectively. So, but we have 6 people at the table. It's a lunchtime game. We play for 1 hour, and we have to have a system that's going to allow us to process character actions as a group facing challenges in a very fast manner that's easily processed with little drag time, or that's very intuitive and doesn't require a lot of tactics or consideration on the side of the players to get things done. So I am opting towards the Shadow Dark or BX style of play, where you have an action and a movement, and you can cash in your action for an extra movement, but otherwise that's pretty much it. And the things that you can do with an action, so we have actions and movements, right? So this is how far we've gotten in character development so far. Let's see, here's all the tasks that we can perform as NPCs or as individuals. Scouting, negotiating, ship combat, extracting resources from rocks, espionage, delving dungeons and asteroids, and acquiring new resources or supplies and allies. Those are boring things that generally, when they go right, they just add resources and options to things that you can do with your characters and your guild in general. You expand your power. If things go wrong, then it means that for you to be able to accomplish whatever it wants has been delayed, because each session is basically 10 days. So whenever you're allocating, relegating tasks to your NPCs, it's basically a 10-day flight that they have to resolve everything. And at the end of those 10 days, they either accomplish the goals and you expand your guild and your resources, or something went wrong, so those 10 days didn't yield anything. Plus, there's a complication of some sort, like people got kidnapped, people got killed, your stuff got stolen. Monsters are now squatting on your hoard of gold ore that you very much would like to get rid of that dragon so you can start mining that material out. A rival guild is poaching your asteroids that you can't get to. Maybe they lured the dragon there themselves. So you can start building standard sort of adventure stuff in an episodic manner, using this guild system as a background sort of activity that the players are in charge of ambiguously, as a source of complications and plot hooks for them to then be able to decide what kind of adventuring do they want to focus in on, if they like it. They can become fighter pilot aces, or they can become dungeon delving experts, or they can become hostage negotiators, or they can become an Ocean's 13 heist squad. These are like 4 basic tropes for adventuring teams that you would be able to lean into one way or another as a team. So the way that you build characters, they're going to be super slick and simple. We have 5 ranks. There's technically 0 rank for the Pathfinder enthusiasts out there. But for typical BECME, or for typical 5e background people like me, there's 5 ranks, 1st, 5th, 9th, 13th, 17th level, are translated into ranks of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Your character has proficiency bonuses. A first rank squad has a proficiency bonus of +2 that you can apply to different whatevers. Then it progresses up to 5th rank, being effectively 17th level characters, having a +6 proficiency bonus. And then we have our stat array of strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, which I've broken into power, nuance, and resilience. So instead of having individual weapon and skill proficiencies that complicate and slow down your character, you have effectively 3 aspects: power, nuance, and resilience. So power is depicted physically with strength and mentally or with presence through charisma. Nuance is like knowledge or intricate movement or like refinement or skill, prowess. These are some vague terms that I haven't quite locked down what it should be yet. There might be suggestions from other systems out there, but nuance is basically manual dexterity and body control is represented by dexterity, and then mental swiftness and mental agility, which is expressed by intelligence. So intelligence, you can formulate ideas and craft things and be witty, but charisma is your force of presence. And then resilience is physical resilience is represented by constitution, and mental resilience is represented by wisdom. The idea of like intuition or cunningness would fall more into the nuance category and would be backed up with the power of your personality, as opposed to being like a standalone stat to represent willpower and intuition, right? So those are the basic, and here's the stat array that you get when you build your character: +3, +2, +1, 0, -1, -2. So you'll allocate which of those, and then you'll choose which aspect of stats you want to be proficient with. That becomes your primary aspect. Your character is defined by their power. Your character is defined by their nuance or skill. Now maybe I'll just call this skill, adept, power, power. How about prowess? And then resilience. Yeah, you'd be defined like if you put your proficiency in power, you'd be defined by either your physical, like your just your presence and your physical force, and then your prowess would define you as a character of skill or capability, high competence, power. Ooh, maybe that's how we should do it, competence. And so power, competence, and resilience. That could be a way. I'm still playing with these terms. Let's see. And then we have 3 species, which are dwarves, gnomes, and warforged. Here we go. If you're a dwarf, you can add a +1 to your strength and your constitution. If you are a gnome, you can add +1 to your charisma and dexterity. If you are a warforged, you can add 1 to intelligence and wisdom. If you're a dwarf, you can use passive observations to sense deeper paths. Check this stuff out. Okay, so we have 2 types of actions in the game. There's actions, and movement. You can have 1 action and 1 movement, and you can cash in your action for an extra movement. So here's the stuff you can do with an action, where you get 1 per turn. You can make an attack. You can cast a spell. You can make a challenging interaction or observation. Something that you would have to make in a bit like a roll a d20 to be able to achieve would be a challenge, interaction, and observations, like investigating something, trying to influence, like somebody trying to deceive somebody. These would be instances of challenge, observations, and interactions. You can also, as an action, grant an ally advantage on a roll. So if you aren't performing any particular task right now, you could let your team have advantage, like D&D 5e, of rolling 2 dice and taking the better result. And of course, you can switch out your action for a move action. And move actions are very, very simple. So you have 1 degree of movement using close, far, and distant. Close is something you can get to within a round and still act. Distant is something that would require there's close and then far. Far would take 2 movements to reach using just typical distance banding. And then distant is you'll be taken out of combat to be able to engage. You'll be out of this encounter to go engage something that's distant over yonder. So everything is going to basically, if you're engaging with it, it's either close or far. And if you know of something that's distant, you're basically leaving this close-far scenario to go join that distant scenario, which could take anywhere from 2 or 3 rounds to an hour to achieve, depending on how distant it is and how fast you can move. But regardless, so that's your degrees of movement. And then you have things like acrobatics, athletics, and stealth, which are actions like swimming, things that you may have to make a check to do, but aren't into themselves their own action. It's just part of your movement each round. And then you could also perform, as a move action, you could perform passive interactions and observations, such as I want to listen for a guard or something like that, or I'm going to use this turn to see if I notice any secret doors. Like just casually see if I notice secret doors while I'm still walking, or while I'm in combat, can I pick up on any weaknesses, or does there seem to be any objectives that they have? These can be considered passive interactions as opposed to like actively, like I'm going to search this desk, I'm going to look up information in the library. Like these are active things that you are having to engage yourself with, not just things that can be done alongside other things that you do. It's a little wonky still, but we're locking down the terminology to make it a very simple Beckme style Shadow Dark sort of action economy of move and action, but add a little bit more grit to what those mean exactly. So when we're looking at a dwarf, let's see, you've got passive observation to sense deeper paths. This would normally, you would think, mean if you're on an asteroid as a passive observation, the dwarf will just kind of know which way to go to get deeper into the asteroid. And conversely, you would know how to get out of an asteroid if you just woke up in the middle of a cavern complex. Dwarf would be able to find their way out. This is what they can do. But it could also be like during negotiations or when you're in conversation with somebody, you'd be able to use this passive observation to sense, like, say, a deeper meaning. Like, we think that there can, like, this would be kind of like an intuition / sense motives sort of check, where while you're just talking to somebody, you can just pick up on there's something weird going on about them. People can do that. Some people can't. Dwarves can definitely do that. And then they can also ignore one complication with delving each session. So whenever we run a session, delving is the act of going into an asteroid to clear out monsters and hazards so your mining crew can go in and extract all the ore and wealth from that asteroid to convert into resources for you to use later. So when you succeed on a check, you do what you wanted to do. I succeeded on my task. Congratulations. But if you fail on a task, if you miss the die roll related to that task, it creates like in many systems, a complication. So that complication means that you'll achieve that goal that you were looking to do, but there's some bullshit that's attached to it. Either something else that you have to achieve first, or it's not, you accomplished the goal, but it wasn't really the way that you wanted to do it. Like, for example, you could choose to stab an ogre in the heart to kill it, but you botch your roll. So the passive amount of damage that you can do with your attack is enough to kill the ogre, but now it's fallen back and is 1,400 pounds worth of dead ogre blocking the door you wanted to get opened in the first place. So congratulations, the ogre's dead, but the reason you were killing it was to open that door, and now you gotta find another way to open the door. That would be an example of a complication. So during a delve, and that delve could be defined as going into an asteroid or like exploring the needs behind a need in a negotiation task, for example. You can, if you fuck up your die roll, instead of creating a complication, you're like, nah, I'm going to nip that complication. No complications. You can do that once per session. It's just a way for you to cheat your character. Kind of like Edge in the Cypher system, which this is borrowing heavily from. Gnomes, they have a passive observation to sense magic. So they always have like some sort of detect magic active. They just have to use a move action to use it. I'm using these terms, passive observations. Yep, passive interactions and observations. There you go. They're also immune to charm effects, while dwarves are immune to poison. And let's see, they're immune to charm effects. And and then they can retain one spell on failed check each session. So if you are a spellcasting gnome, the way that works is that there's a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being a DC 4, 10 being a DC 31. When you make your spellcasting check, you have to hit the level of difficulty needed to succeed at your task. Otherwise, you don't create complications. You just lose the spell permanently. It's gone. And you won't get a new spell, and you won't know what that spell is until the next session. So you can retain one spell on a failed check each session. So if you fail your spellcasting check, you can get it back. Warforged are intelligence and wisdom. They have a passive observation to recall one insight per session. So at any time, they can, like if you're talking to the Duke of Gargoyles out of the Droam Nation in orbit, maybe you're having a conversation with that dude, and you want to gain advantage to have something relatable topic of conversation that's not violent against the gargoyles. So you might tap your passive observation to recall one insight. Maybe you pick up on something relevant to this Duke you're talking to, and so you would then use your passive observation to make a check and to be able to maybe gain advantage or favor with him in your conversation, because obviously this Warforged knows something about gargoyles. Maybe there's somebody that's worth building an alliance with, since I am the Duke of Gargoyles. There you go. Let's see. They don't eat or breathe. They don't eat or sleep. They don't eat, breathe, or sleep, which is pretty useful. Maybe even more useful than being immune to poison and fatigue conditions. The immune charm effect, we may find that's not very useful, so we might find something more universal to use with it. But for now, it'll stand. But yeah, so Warforged don't eat or sleep, but they can also ignore one complication with an object each session. So like if they're trying to pick a lock and they fail their roll, that could create a complication that like jams the lock, and now it's even more difficult to open. And the Warforged are like, no, I can work around that, and they click it open. Like they get around, they don't necessarily succeed at the task, but they avoid any complications that would come from a bad die roll. If they're using a wand, a spell wand, and they're casting spells from that spell wand, if they botch up the roll of the wand dies and is worthless junk now. Well, the Warforged could prevent that glitch from taking out their wand, because it's an object that they're interacting with. If you're going to run out of ammunition, for instance, as a result of a complication with using a ranged weapon, the Warforged can ignore that result as though it had not happened. So these are the three species that we can play in this particular campaign. The characters are welcome to build any one of them, but obviously they have their own advantages. And then there are general heroic perks. Every time when you're first level, you can pick a hero perk and a specialty perk, because each character is a specialist. So there's general heroism, and then you can see frequently it allows you to roll on a specialized perk table instead. But at first level, you both roll on the heroic perks as well as your specialist perks, which are combat, delving, espionage, and negotiation. You gain a number of hit points of 10 equal to your rank. And basically the number of missions that you survive is how much renown you accumulate for your character. So a 5th level character will have accumulated 25 renown, which means that they've gone on 25, they've had 25 sessions with us, which means that that character's been active for, if we're playing 3 out of 4 weeks, then the 4th week is a guild update. The characters are actively adventuring every 3 out of 4 weeks, which means that 25 divided by 3 is roughly 8. So it'd be about 8 months of gameplay, back to back to back to back with no breaks, for the characters to end up going from first rank to 5th rank characters. If those characters die at some point, they are gone. You are dead at 0 hit points. There's no remorse. Depending on how high your commerce rank is, you can hire... No, it's loyalty. Depending on how high your loyalty is in your industry, it makes it easier for you to recruit replacement characters. So every 10 days, you get a free allocation to using your acquisition ability to roll a die. And if you roll high enough equal to the rank of characters that you want to recruit to replace your now dead characters, if you succeed with the roll, then you get them no problem. Roll up your characters, let's rock. If you fail the acquisition check, you either have to spend additional resources equal to the degree of difficulty that you missed, again on a scale of 1 to 10. Recruiting 5th ranked characters is a difficulty of 9 out of 10. 1 out of 10, 3, 5, 7, 9 out of 10. So like a first ranked team that you're willing to build from scratch from the very beginning and work up, you're pretty much guaranteed to get them no matter what. Because you only have to roll a 4, and like if you're a 3rd ranked guild, you're going to roll at least a 6. So you're pretty much guaranteed that first ranked team to get back on board. Who wouldn't want to work for a major conglomerate that's willing to equip you with weapons and provide training? That sounds like a great gig for somebody that just got out of the military, is looking for something maybe safer to do, but at least they can use their skill set and they're taking care of their family. So good bargain. But so if your team dies, you can roll to replace your characters, and if you fail the roll, then you can either spend additional you can basically spend your resource currency to just purchase them outright, or you can get them for free, but they come with complications. Like you can have this crack commando team, but Brayland, they're in prison, and they've been imprisoned by Brayland for crimes against humanity. So if you want that team, you're going to have to get an espionage team up and running to run a heist operation to break them out of prison so that they can join your team. The complications that go along with that, if you fail at the mission, of course, is that Brayland will probably declare war against you. Good luck with that. If you succeed, though, you now have known terrorists working for you as your adventuring team, whether they're fighter pilots, espionage specialists themselves, or dungeon delvers, whatever. But now they're on your roster. So you can buy up to your max rank that you've gained, but every time you succeed on a mission, you also gain, those characters gain a point of renown, and it takes 25 points of renown to get to 5th rank. It takes only 1 point of renown to be first level, or first rank. It takes a total of 4, which is add 3. 4 total renown accumulated. Renown equals resources. Renown is the resource of people trusting you, of believing in your own personal skill and your specializations. You are a specialist, and you have a long arm worth of accomplishments that reinforce that you are skilled. This is often reflected in you having lots of resources allocated towards achieving your goal. Better equipment, better training, more contacts, more skills, and more spells to be able to accomplish what you need. You have a lot of reputation, but when you die, you're dead. So you could then purchase another team with points. Like if you get, like, say, a 2nd rank mining operation gets 2 points of resources every 10 days for each plot of land that they are actively mining, and the team currently has 3 plots. So the team could potentially gain, every 10 days, they could potentially get 6 resources that they would then have to, like, 6 resources in 1 10 day. If you have to replace your team, a 2nd ranked team, that's convenient. Your 2nd ranked guild, to get a 2nd ranked team, you'd have to spend 4 resources. You just got 6, sure, let's burn 4 of them. It might take 9 resources for them to get the title to another plot of land. So they have to store up resources to buy things. If your fighter squadron got wiped out, it could take anywhere from 1 to 25 points to replace that squadron, because you can only do 1 acquisition for free a month. If you need a new fighter squadron, if you need a new combat team, and you need another plot of land for you to be able, or like territory, to extract wealth from asteroids, and that could end up costing you something like 16 points this season. So if you're only accumulating 6 points at a go, it's like 3 missions later we now have enough resources. Maybe you want to run a mission to go steal resources from someone somewhere, or run a dungeon delve specifically so you can acquire more resources, which you can do. That's where your characters come in, performing these tasks to get you the things that you need to be able to achieve. So we're looking at our perks, and each perk, each rank, your character has a higher die roll when they succeed at a task or deal damage. D4 at first, second is D6, D8, D10, D12 at 5th rank. So when you're rolling perks at first level, you're going to roll a D4, and you're going to pull from this table. And all of the specialist perks, there's only 4 perks per specialist, but you can get the same perk over and over again if you roll that way. So this is a very Shadow Dark idea. So you have your general heroic perks, and like number 1, increase 2 stats by +1 each. If we're playing a dwarf that already got a +2 bonus to a +1 bonus to strength and constitution, and you got this increased 2 stats, you could increase your strength and constitution again, or your constitution and intelligence, or any combination thereof. There's another perk that lets you increase 1 stat by 2, and there's no cap on these. As opposed to Shadow Dark, it caps at 18+. This will let you go as far and high as you want on a stat. You can get a 25 on a strength, and that'd be insanely powerful. And make power your proficient. Be proficient in power. So at 5th rank, you'd have a +6 proficiency bonus in power, and if your strength is 25, that'd be a +5. 6, 7. So you'd have a +13 on your D20, +13 on your die roll. You'd be a ridiculously strong. There you go. Other things, increase your proficiency in one aspect by +2. So you only have proficiency in one aspect, either power, competence, or resilience. And so when you gain that, you'll have your natural progression of increasing proficiency with that particular aspect of your character, going from a +2 at 1st rank up to a +6 at 5th rank. But this perk allows you just to add a static +2 bonus to any of the aspects. If you wanted to lean into power being your primary aspect, that +3 would then become a +5. And when you get to 5th rank, it'd be a +8 instead of +6. And you could potentially roll this over and over and over again. So you could get incredibly jacked in power. But everything else is slowly, everything else is being sacrificed for that. Your resilience might be shit, so you're easily suckered. Your competence is low, so you have a lot of power, but you do it clumsily. So these are the ways you can see here in resilience. This sample character I was building, I decided to shore up my resilience because I gained increased proficiency in one aspect by +2. So I was able to shore up my resilience to a +2, so it had a net +1 bonus. +4 to Constitution and a +1 here, so that's a net +3 gain. There you go. Let's see. Increase success by 1. So if I fail a roll, if I'm dealing damage, if I fail my roll, I'll do my proficiency. I'll do my rank worth of damage to that thing. If I succeed in damage, I'll roll my rank die, D4, D8, D6, D10, 12, and when I roll that die, I add my proficiency modifier to it. So at 2nd rank, I'd roll a D6 +2. Well, this allows me to always add an additional +1 to that result. So my character then would be a +3 or a D6 +3. And I could, again, roll that multiple times and continue just to have ridiculous success, even if I fail. Roll a specialist perk is all over the place. Gain proficiency in a 2nd aspect. This is different from gaining proficiency in one aspect, because like at 5th rank, that's a +6 as opposed to a +2. So I can gain proficiency in a 2nd aspect. There you go. And then I can increase success by +2. Here's a result of 11. And then half the time, it's going to be roll of specialist perks. Like I can't get +2 success until I'm 5th rank, because that's when I'm rolling a D12, which gives me access to a result of 11 and 12. So we know that each rank character has 10 hit points per rank. So a 3rd rank character has 30 hit points, but if you roll this combat perk, your character has 40 instead of 30. He's resilient as hell. You can sacrifice movement to gain advantage on rolling actions during combat. So whenever you're in combat and you're making a check that requires a die roll, if you give up your movement, that action can roll with advantage. You can sacrifice movement to share a defense roll with an ally. Every turn, you're going to pick one of your aspects to roll a defense check. And that becomes your default defense for the turn, both mental and physical. It could be through power, resilience, or competence, whichever one. Is that how I'm saying that? Power, competence, and resilience. There you go. I would pick one of these aspects, and that aspect is going to be my die roll. And then it's modified by dex. If I'm using competence as my die roll, then there you go. It doesn't have any internal bonus to it, so it's just going to be whatever that die roll is. Good luck. If it's resilience, I have a +2 bonus in resilience, then it would be d20 plus 2. And that becomes basically my armor class and my saving throw result throughout the game that round. So every round, I'm going to pick one of these aspects, and I can't use that aspect for my action. So I have defense rolls, and then I have one active action roll, and then I have a passive roll. So I can use one of these rolls for my active, I can use one of these rolls as a passive, and I can use one of these rolls as a defense. And I can change each round. Like this round, maybe I'll make power my defense roll. So I'll get my d20, and since I'm proficient with it, I get the +3 bonus on top of whatever these stats are. So if I rolled a 13, that'd be a 16 because of the +3, and then it'd be a 20 in the force of will to overcome hardship, or it'd be a 15 if it's a physical, if I'm being physically challenged, like being shot at to avoid that damage or whatever. Yeah, there you go. That's how that works. So when we go down here and we're looking at combat stats, sacrifice movement to gain advantage on rolling actions. There you go. If I sacrifice a movement during my turn, whatever die roll I got with my defense, I could give that die roll to an ally instead of whatever their shitty roll is. So as long as I'm not the lowest defense roll on the table, I can give whoever is the worst my die roll, and they're going to be better off. I create a more stable floor for the team to survive. If I gain this power multiple times, I can share defense with more than one ally. So if I get this 4 times, I could share it with 4 allies. Let's see, sacrifice movement to gain. I should change that advantage. I should change that to gain +2 on rolling. Advantage is a bad idea because I can only do that once, but I could get a +2 bonus over and over again, which I want to do. Granting advantage to one ally. Can be made with a move action. Oh, that's right. Granting advantage can be made with a move action. There you go. I'm going to put an asterisk there. Asterisk there. Asterisk there. Asterisk there. Move action. Good. Okay, and I'm putting asterisks here, and I'll explain why in a moment. Ally, extra movement. Sacrifice a movement to grant one ally an extra movement each during your turn, during their turn, and extra movement during their turn. And you could stack this so that when you sacrifice movement, if I got this twice, I could grant 2 allies an extra movement during their turn. But this one remains an asterisk. Challenge observations can be made as that also retains an asterisk. Sacrifice movement to grant an ally. Yeah, granting advantage to an ally can be made with a move action, with a move instead of action. Instead of action. There we go. There. Almost there. Granting advantage to an ally. Cool. Choose a heroic or there. You know, that's too good. There you go. Gain a negotiation spell slot. Okay, so what we're using Maze Rat's style of spell casting. Maze Rat's randoms you an ability. Let's say you have there's 2 aspects to each spell. There's physical. There's any of these. There's 6 aspects. There's 6 modes or categories of magic: physical effects, ethereal effects, physical elements, ethereal elements, physical forms, and ethereal forms. You randomly have 2 of these things. You don't get the same, like you can't have physical form twice, but it'd be like physical form and ethereal form. Could be something that you got in combination. So, and then you'd go in and you roll a d6 twice to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories, and then 6 down the row. So like for example, when we were here last time in episode 5, we ended up with an arrow that was made of stone. Oh, where was the physical elements? There we go. It was stone. We had a stone arrow. So like we could use that combination, set a difficulty for ourselves from 1 to 10, and then if we cast the spell, if we hit the difficulty number, it's anywhere from 4 to 31 on a scale of 1 to 10. 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 25, 28, and 31. How are we on time? Yeah, we're doing great. Those are the 10 ranks of difficulty that we have. So you would, like, say, use that stone arrow, and then you can just narrate what you want it to do. Like, I'm going to create a temporary iron bolt that I fire as a propelled attack against my opponent, and if it hits, it'll deal my rank damage to that creature. So that might only be a difficulty of, like, say, like on a scale of 1 to 10, that might only be a 2. 4, 7, so it only take a die roll of 7. And if you are second rank and you're using power as that dwarf character we saw up above, their charisma happens to be -1, but they're proficient, so it's going to be a bonus of +2 overall. They're going to roll a 20-sided die. If the result of that d20 plus 2 equals 7 or more, they successfully created that iron bolt and dealt damage with it. If they made that effect and they shot their bolt, it'll only do 2 damage, and then they permanently lose that spell and they can't use it anymore. So, la-di-da. They'll always have melee attacks. If worst case scenario, you go through all your spells and you've destroyed all your spells, so you don't have any more of those. Then you use your ranged weapon, and when you have a complication, that weapon is out of ammo, and you can't use that one anymore. And then you default to physical actions. You can spend a turn. You can spend your turn getting your re-equipping your weapon. So like if you're using a wand of magic missiles, and that's your ranged attack style, and you have a complication with it, the wand loses power for a moment. You're going to have to spend you either throw it away or you spend your next turn getting the thing back up and running so that it's working again, so you can continue making ranged attacks with it. That's how we handle ammunition. It's simple, and it's incredibly simple. Spells are a lot more effective than ranged attacks in general. So once you complicate, because you're setting your own difficulty, once you create a complication, it's gone. Ammo is ranged weapons, energy types, and stuff are generally pretty easy to use. So if you have a complication, the thing goes down. You can't use it again until you spend an action to re-equip it. And then melee attacks always work, because you'll never run out of melee attacks. So there you go. So that's the stack. So I want to create a separate block of spellcasting for each type of magic. So we'll go with negotiation magic. So we're going to have a 4x4 block. Two 4x4 blocks. So you're going to roll a d4, d4. So you always have access to, at first rank, you always have access to everything that's capable of happening. So we now need to pull out a bunch of words and terms to then fill into the grid. Everything goes right, I should be doing pretty good. So I need to fill out these blocks, and I need to finish the options for each of these. So combat is done other than the form, the magic. I need one more option for delving. I need one more option for espionage, and I need 2 more options for negotiations. And I don't necessarily know what those are supposed to be yet. So this is where we're at. I feel I have caught us up on what this system is. For better or for worse, that's the time I invested on it with you guys. Armor, arrow, blade. Chain, cloak, sentinel, ooh, shield. Spear. Eye. Wall. So, thank you. I think it's Ben Milton. Acid is a good one. I'll buy some things later. Acid. Stone. Elemental form. Cone. Ray. No, these feel like effects. What else we got? Huh. Sure, portal. That's weird. Aura. Ooh, Aura's a good one. And how about Gaze? That's a decent one. Effects. Animate, levitate, petrify, envelop, phasing. That's neat. Shape-shifting. Let's go with pursuing, sealing, what else we got? Blinding. Let's see. Warding. That's a good one. Dispelling. Envelop is kind of like entangling. I'm just gonna grab this. Scrying. That makes utter sense. I think negotiations is going to probably be the more interesting one here. Let's see. Fire. No. Fire is more of the form. Oh, okay, fine. Cone ray. Cone, petrify, regenerate, ray, envelop, pursuing, animate, phasing. Ooh, concealing. That's a good one for espionage, too. Repelling. Cool. Okay, so now we have an effective, well, effects table. Yeah, that works. So what happens when I roll a d4? Let's just do a couple sample runs, shan't we? I have till Wednesday next week to get this done. So we just finished one of these. Let's see what we get. Four and four. It's going to be a warding gaze. So when I look upon you, you can't come any closer. Or otherwise, maybe you could be like, when I look, I can see if there's any wardings on something. Yeah, those are two obvious uses of it. And then I can just set the difficulty to ramp into the stuff that I'm fighting against. And if I hit my roll, then I get my thing. Otherwise, I fail. Let's try another one. 1 and 4. Armor. Oh, 4 and 4, 4 and 4. Right, that was 4 and 4. That would be gaze. Now I have 1 and 4. So that'd be gaze and a levitating gaze. So when I look at you, I make you lift off the ground. Or I can lift things in general. That could be really useful. That's neat. I'm going to put levitating under delving. Neat, levitating gaze. Let's try something else. So we roll 2 of these. A 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 1, 1, 2. A cloak of 4 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. A cloak of dispelling, or a dispelling cloak. Huh. Maybe I can envelop an area with a dispel effect. Or I could become invisible to magic. I cloak myself from magic. That'd be kind of cool. Those are useful. Cloaking feels like espionage, so I'm going to put that down here. And I could roll multiple slots, so every time I roll that, I gain a slot. So I could gain multiple slots. There was no problem with that. Man, I'm getting tired. Generating reality is exhausting work. Let's see, is there a fourth thing we can come up with delving here real fast? Sacrifice movement to grant one ally an extra movement during their turn. Challenge interactions can be made with a move instead of an action once per turn. Gain a delving spell slot. Oh, how about actions used to interact or observe hazards gain a +2 bonus. It's a very trap smithy, rock slidey sort of thing to do. And it stacks, so you can have infinite numbers. Well, I mean, plus 10 anyway. On top of your other business. So that's not bad. It's a good place to start. So delving is done. What other espionage? Add +2 and rolling defense. Challenge observations can be made with a move instead of an action. How about I'm thinking things through. What would it be? It'd be like how about sacrifice a move, sacrifice a move sacrifice movement to gain a +2 on rolling actions during combat. Sacrifice an action to gain +4 on a movement roll. God, that feels like delving. Sacrifice an action to gain a +2 on passive move. Is there anything that lets me sacrifice a movement, right, to roll actions? During combat. Always useful. Only kind of useful. Sacrifice a movement for something that's conditionally useful. Sacrifice an action for something that's usually useful. Okay. Okay, I'm good with those. Negotiation. Let's see what we got. Granting advantage to an ally can be made with a move instead of an action. Grants a negotiation spell slot. Let's do this. Using an action to influence a target's disposition. Gain +2 to influence a target's disposition. There you go. That's good. And what's the last thing we're going to do? +2 affects my result. Granting advantage. What's that last thing going to be? Gain +2 to challenge. Granting an advantage to an ally. Gain a negotiation spell, of course. You gotta have grant an advantage, grant a bonus. Granting advantage to an ally. How do I want to do this? Let's see, can. As an action, you can reduce Damn it, what is it supposed to be? As an action, as a... I want to mitigate. Ignore complications. There we go. You can ignore complications during negotiations. You can ignore one complication during negotiations each session. If you roll that multiple times, you have multiple complications that you can ignore. So when things don't go well for you, they don't go as bad as they could. That actually works. Kick ass. All right, so we've finished up the perk list for our classes. And now all we have to do is flesh out the forms and effects that this stuff has. So let's check out delving, keeping trap springing and delving in mind in general. Creeping, opening, pursuing, expanding. That's cool. Let's cheat, make them separate. Ooh, reflecting, that's neat. No idea how that'd be used, but I like the word. Hastening. What is this I'm looking at? Hindering. Is there anything in here that's hindering? Hindering. That's fun. Let's go with physical elements. Let's see what we have. Yeah, I'm not feeling physical elements very much at all for this. Physical forms. Let's see what we see. Key. Chain. Hammer. What's he got? Torch. Portal. Call is an interesting word. Cone. Ray. Beacon, not array, beacon. That's pretty good shit. What else you got? What are we working on here? This is delving effects. Distortion is a good one. I feel like probability would be a fun one for effects for negotiating. This is an effect we're looking for. I ain't sure why not. Star, stasis, steam, mind, espionage would be good with effect for mind, as would negotiation. Effect. Oh, light. That's super useful. And we're going to have to finish here in a minute. Light. Memory. That's neat. Let's go with... sure, let's put memory in here. And we'll put memory down in espionage as well. Oh, we're going to make memory a form. How about that for fancy? Neat. Warp, wind, ooh, whisper. Negation? That's not bad. That's good there. It's also good over here. All right, that's my time. We've been building. We've been building here. So if you think this stuff is cool, be welcome to leave comments down below. Your thoughts about it. Drop by the Discord that we have linked in the description down below to check in on this and just to hang out in general. If you think this stuff is fun, love to have you. Otherwise, yeah, this is it for now. We're gonna be back doing this at Monday lunch and Tuesday lunch, and then I have my session 0 again with my actual team where I'll be presenting this stuff and we will be building characters. I'll be back tomorrow morning. It's gonna be workbench. It'll be my workbench Saturday, so we're going to convert the Elven Flitter ship that we had been using in the Spelljammer, we're going to convert it into an Elven Warbird. Because there's a difference, and I got the two conflated, so now I have the opportunity to fix that before the book publishes instead of after. So thank God for slow cooking. But yeah, when we come back on Monday, we'll finish off the Delver and Espionage and Negotiations, and then we'll be ready to actually build characters. So looking forward to it. I will see you guys on the other side. So later all.